Welcome! I am so glad you found your way here to this quiet corner of the world. Tonight, we are going to step away from the rush of the day, away from the ticking of the kitchen clock and the hum of the busy world outside. Instead, we are going to invite a sense of stillness. We are going to reflect on something that touches every living thing, yet often goes misunderstood: the gentle, steady beauty of time. In this space, there is no hurry. There are no deadlines to meet, no places you need to be. The only thing required of you is to simply exist, to listen, and to let your mind drift like a leaf on a slow-moving stream. We call this sleepy science, a place where the wonders of the universe are shared in hushed tones, designed to guide you into a deep and restorative rest. If you find that these quiet explorations help you find peace, I invite you to gently like this video or subscribe to the channel. It is a soft way to ensure we can continue this journey together night after night. But for this moment, right now, put all of those thoughts aside. Your only task is to settle in. Let's take a moment to recenter. Wherever you are, notice the way your body rests against the surface beneath you. Perhaps you feel the weight of a soft blanket over your legs or the coolness of a pillow against your cheek. Take a slow, deep breath in, feeling your chest rise like a tide, and then let it out even more slowly. With every exhale, imagine the tension leaving your muscles, starting at the top of your head, moving down through your jaw, your shoulders, and all the way to your toes. You're supported. You are safe. You are exactly where you need to be. As you lie there in the stillness of your room, it might feel as though everything has come to a stop. But within you and all around you in the natural world, there is a magnificent process unfolding. It is the story of longevity, of how living things grow, adapt, and endure over years, decades, and even millennia. It is a story not of fading away, but of becoming more. Think for a moment about the air you are breathing. It is the same atmosphere that has circled the earth for millions of years, recycled through the leaves of ancient forests and the depths of the blue oceans. Just as the earth has its own vast history, your body has its own internal rhythm, a biological clock that has been pulsing since before you were born. It is a steady, quiet beat that governs the way you heal, the way you learn, and the way you grow into the person you are tonight. As we begin our journey through the science of aging and the wonders of long-lived life, we start right here with the miracle of your own physical being. We often think of time as something that takes things away from us. But in the world of science, we see a different picture. We see a process of accumulation, a gathering of experience and cellular wisdom that builds a life, layer by layer, like the rings of a great ancient tree. Your body is not a static object. It is a flowing process, a constant renewal that connects your present self to the person you were years ago and the person you will become in the quiet years ahead. Consider for a moment the concept of your own biological clock. It isn't a ticking mechanism of gears and springs, but a soft rhythmic pulse, a steady internal cadence that has been with you since your very first heartbeat. This clock doesn't just mark the passage of time, it orchestrates the intricate symphony of your life. We are often taught to view the passing of years as a process of subtraction, a slow fading of vitality. But in the quiet light of science, we see something much more beautiful. Aging is, in truth, a process of profound accumulation. It is the gathering of stories, the strengthening of neural pathways, and the layering of cellular experience. You are not becoming less. You are becoming more, a more complex, more seasoned, and more deeply rooted version of the self you have always been. Within this process of becoming, there is a hidden miracle of constant renewal. You may feel like the same person you were a decade ago, but physically, you are almost entirely new. Biological research tells us that roughly every 7 years, the vast majority of the cells in your body have been replaced. Your skin, your muscles, and even the delicate structures of your organs are constantly being rebuilt, atom by atom, cell by cell. It is a quiet, industrious work that happens while you eat, while you walk, and especially while you sleep tonight. Your body is a construction site of incredible precision, swapping out the old for the new without ever pausing the rhythm of your life. Think of yourself like a great winding river. When you look at a river, it appears to be a single constant entity. You give it a name, you map its path, and you recognize its curves. But the water flowing within its banks is never the same from one moment to the next. The river is a process, not just a fixed object. In the same way, you are a living flow of energy and matter. You are the same you who laughed as a child and dreamed as a teenager, yet the physical vessel carrying those memories is a fresh creation of the earth's elements. You are a masterpiece in a state of perpetual restoration, a river of life that remains itself even as its waters are ever changing. As we settle deeper into this thought, let us move our focus inward, beyond the skin, beyond the muscles, down into the silent, microscopic world where this renewal begins. To understand how we endure for so long, we must look at the very blueprints of our being, the tiny, elegant structures that guard the secrets of our longevity. We are journeying now to the heart of the cell, to the delicate strands of DNA that hold the map of who you are, protected by tiny guardians that ensure each new cell is born with the wisdom of the old. Imagine, if you will, the very center of one of those new cells we just spoke of. Within that microscopic space, your genetic code is bundled into long, elegant strands of DNA. At the very ends of these strands, there are tiny, specialized structures that act as guardians for your biological blueprint. Science often compares these guardians, called telomeres, to the small plastic tips at the ends of shoelaces. You know the ones, the aglets, that prevent the laces from fraying and unraveling as you tie and untie them over the years. In much the same way, telomeres protect your genetic information every time a cell divides. They are the silent sentinels that ensure the message of you remains clear and intact as it is passed from one generation of cells to the next. Every time a cell reproduces, a tiny bit of these protective tips is lost, shielding the vital data behind them from any damage. They are a testament to the body's innate desire to preserve its essence, to hold on to its core identity, even as the physical matter around it shifts and turns. There is a remarkable intelligence at work here, a quiet resilience tucked away in your very foundation. While telomeres naturally shorten as we move through the seasons of life, our bodies possess a delicate mechanism for restoration. An enzyme known as telomerase acts like a tiny invisible hand that can actually repair and lengthen these protective tips. It is a process of cellular mending, a quiet rhythmic stitching back together of the frayed ends of time. It reminds us that aging is not a simple one-way street of decline, but a dynamic and graceful balance between wear and repair, a constant negotiation between the journey out and the journey back to center. What is perhaps most beautiful is how much influence we have over this microscopic maintenance through the simple act of being kind to ourselves. Scientific studies have begun to reveal a profound connection between our state of mind and the health of our telomeres. It has been found that consistent meditation and, most importantly, deep restorative sleep are linked to healthier telomere maintenance. When you allow yourself to let go of the day's burdens, when you sink into the softness of your pillow and breathe into the stillness, you're giving your body the quiet space it needs to perform this sacred work in the silence of the night. While your conscious mind drifts into the world of dreams, your cells are being tended to. Their protective caps are being strengthened and preserved by the very peace you are cultivating right now. You are not just resting, you are participating in a deep biological renewal. You are providing the sanctuary necessary for your cellular guardians to do their best work. And as these tiny structures protect the integrity of your code, another part of your body is busy cataloging every experience you have ever had. From the physical protection of our DNA, we turn our attention now to a different kind of guardian, one that doesn't just protect, but remembers. We move from the structural tips of our genes to the vast living library of the immune system. Here, the body does not just age, it learns. It becomes a vessel of cellular wisdom, holding on to the memory of every challenge it has ever overcome, and using that knowledge to keep you safe through the decades to come. Imagine for a moment that your body is not just a physical form, but a vast living record, a traveler who has walked through a shifting landscape for many years. With every season that passes, this traveler learns the subtle language of the world around it. It learns the scent of the air before a storm, the texture of the earth underfoot, and the patterns of the stars. In much the same way, your immune system has spent every moment of your life becoming more sophisticated, more observant, and more wise. It is an incredible realization that as we move through time, we are becoming better equipped to navigate the invisible world around us. This process is driven by what scientists call memory cells. These are specialized defenders, B cells and T cells, that do not simply disappear after a challenge has passed. Instead, they remain in the quiet, shadowed corners of your body, acting as silent sentinels. They are like scribes in an ancient library, carefully recording the details of every visitor, every virus, and every bacterium you have ever encountered. Some of these memory cells are so dedicated that they can last a lifetime, waiting patiently to recognize an old foe. They are the keepers of your history, ensuring that you never have to face the same battle twice without the wisdom of the past to guide you. There is a profound beauty in this cellular memory. For instance, researchers have found that older adults often possess a more robust immunological memory for certain strains of influenza that circulated decades ago. Their bodies remember the specific face of a virus from their childhood or young adulthood, a memory that remains vivid and ready even 50 or 60 years later. It is as if the body keeps a photo album of every challenge it has ever met, allowing it to stand strong against things that might overwhelm a younger, less experienced system. This deep-seated recognition is a form of biological inheritance we give to ourselves simply by living. This is one of the gentle ironies of growing older, what we might call cellular wisdom. While we often focus on the vulnerabilities of age, we rarely stop to appreciate the strength that comes from experience. This is why, statistically, many people find they catch fewer common colds as they move into their later decades. Your immune system has already seen so many variations of these minor disturbances that it knows exactly how to handle them before you even feel a symptom. It has become efficient, calm, and deeply knowledgeable. It no longer overreacts to the unknown. It simply refers to its vast internal archives and acts with quiet precision. By the time we reach our middle and later years, our bodies have become a magnificent library of everything they have ever encountered. Every breath you have taken, every environment you have stepped into, has contributed a new volume to this archive. You are a living testament to resilience, a collection of stories told in the language of proteins and cells. This internal wisdom is a quiet, steady hum that supports you every single day, a foundation built over a lifetime of interaction with the world. You carry within you the maps of 1,000 journeys, each one making you more resilient than you were the day before. But this sense of enduring wisdom is not unique to us. If we look beyond the boundaries of our own skin out into the natural world, we find even greater examples of time being transformed into strength. Just as our bodies record our history in our cells, there are living beings on this planet that have been recording the history of the earth itself for thousands of years. They stand as silent witnesses to the passage of eons, their wisdom etched into every fiber of their being. To find them, we must leave the microscopic world of the cell and travel high into the ancient, wind-swept mountains, where the oldest living individuals on Earth continue their slow, patient dance with time. These are the elders of the landscape, trees that have mastered the art of longevity in ways we are only beginning to understand. High up in the arid, wind-swept mountains of the American West, where the air is thin and the winters are long, there lives a creature that has mastered the art of patience. If you were to stand among them in the White Mountains of California or the high peaks of Nevada, you might not even realize at first that you are in the presence of the oldest individual living things on our planet. These are the Great Basin bristlecone pines. They do not look like the lush, towering giants of a redwood forest. Instead, they are often short, gnarled, and twisted into fantastic sculptural shapes by centuries of relentless wind and ice. Some of them appear more like ancient stone than living wood, with trunks that have been polished to a golden sheen by the blowing grit of the mountainside. To look upon a bristlecone pine is to look directly back through the deep corridors of time. Many of these individual trees have been rooted in the same patch of rocky soil for over 5,000 years. To put that into perspective, when some of these trees were merely saplings, the first stones of the Great Pyramids had not yet been laid. They were already ancient when the Roman Empire was at its height, and they remained steadfast as the modern world began to take shape far below their mountain homes. They have witnessed the entire arc of human civilization from their silent, high-altitude vantage points, unaffected by the fleeting concerns of the world below. The secret to this incredible longevity is a radical sort of slowness. While other trees rush to grow tall and reach the sunlight, the bristlecone pine is content to wait. It grows with a pace that is almost impossible for us to conceive. In some particularly harsh environments, a bristlecone pine may only add a single inch to its girth over the course of an entire century. It is as if the tree has decided that there is no need to hurry when one has thousands of years to complete a journey. This slow growth creates wood that is incredibly dense. So dense, in fact, that it is nearly impossible for rot, fungi, or wood-boring insects to penetrate it. The tree is so saturated with protective resins that even after it eventually dies, it can remain standing for another 1,000 years, refusing to decay, slowly eroding like a mountain rather than rotting like a plant. As you listen to the steady rhythm of your own breathing, imagine the stillness of that mountain air. There is a profound peace in the strategy of the bristlecone. It does not fight the harsh environment. It incorporates the struggle into its very form. Its needles, which remain green and productive for up to 40 years, are a testament to its efficiency. It wastes nothing. It asks for very little. It simply endures, growing stronger and more character-filled with every passing millennium. But while these ancient pines represent the pinnacle of individual longevity, one single life persisting through the ages, nature has developed another, perhaps even more mysterious way to endure. Just as we have moved from the microscopic wisdom of our cells to the gnarled strength of a single tree, we can look even further to see how life can blur the lines between the individual and the collective. In some corners of the world, an organism doesn't just live for thousands of years as a single trunk. It creates an entire landscape that functions as a single immortal being. These are the clonal colonies, where the concept of age takes on a scale that makes even the 5,000-year-old bristlecone pine seem young by comparison. To find the greatest of these, we must travel to the quiet plateaus of Utah, where a single forest is actually a single ancient soul. Imagine a vast, shimmering forest of quaking aspens. At first glance, it looks like a typical woodland. Thousands of individual white-barked trees with delicate heart-shaped leaves that flutter and dance in the slightest breeze. In Utah, this specific grove is known as pasdo, a name derived from the Latin word meaning "I spread." It is also called the trembling giant, and for a very profound reason. Scientists have discovered that this entire forest, covering over 100 acres, is not a collection of separate trees at all. Instead, it is a single, massive, living organism, Every one of the 47,000 trunks in this grove is a genetic clone, all connected by an immense, intricate underground root system that acts as the organism's heart and memory. As you rest, try to visualize the sheer scale of this quiet giant. Because all these trees share one massive root network, Pando is considered one of the heaviest living organisms on our planet. It is estimated to weigh more than 6,000 metric tons, roughly 13 million pounds. While a single aspen trunk might only live for 100 or 150 years, the root system itself is virtually immortal. It is a continuous living thread that has persisted through tens of thousands of years of changing climates and shifting landscapes. Current estimates suggest that Pando has been growing and spreading for 80,000 years. To put that into perspective, when Pando first began to push its tiny shoots through the soil, humans were only just beginning to migrate out of Africa. This single organism has survived through the entirety of the last ice age, remaining anchored in the earth, while glaciers advanced and retreated far above. It has a perspective on time that is almost impossible for us to grasp, a slow, patient existence where centuries are like passing seasons. The secret to Pando's endurance lies in its ability to constantly renew itself from within. In a typical forest, when a tree dies, it is gone. But in the trembling giant, the death of an individual trunk is merely a small event in a much larger life. When a trunk becomes old or weakened by the elements, the ancient root system simply sends up a new, vibrant shoot to take its place. This process of constant regeneration means that while the forest looks the same from century to century, it is always in a state of gentle, quiet rebirth. One trunk fades away, and another rises from the same ancient source, fueled by the wisdom and energy stored in those 80,000-year-old roots. When the wind moves through Pando, the sound is unlike any other forest. Because the leaves of the quaking aspen are attached to flat petioles, they tremble and clatter against one another with a soft, watery sound that resembles falling rain or distant applause. If you were standing in the heart of the grove, you would hear the collective voice of 47,000 trees, all pulsing with the same life, all part of the same singular soul. It is a place of profound interconnectedness, where the boundaries between the individual and the whole completely dissolve. But the Earth's capacity for such long, slow lives is not limited to the solid ground of the high plateaus. As we leave the sun-dappled forests of Utah behind, we turn our attention toward a very different kind of environment, one that is just as quiet, but far colder and deeper. The strategy of extreme longevity exists beneath the waves as well, where the crushing pressure and freezing temperatures of the northern oceans have shaped a creature that moves through time with the same unhurried grace as the ancient roots of Pando. We move now from the trembling leaves of the forest to the dark, icy silence of the North Atlantic, to meet a wanderer that has been swimming since the days of the Renaissance. Imagine the deep, inky waters of the North Atlantic and the Arctic oceans. Down here, the temperature is often near freezing, and the light of the sun is a distant memory. In this world of perpetual twilight, time seems to stretch and slow down, mirroring the pace of the creature that calls these depths home, the Greenland shark. This shark is a silent wanderer, a living relic of a bygone era, drifting through the cold as if it has all the time in the world. And in many ways, it does. While most creatures measure their lives in decades, the Greenland shark measures its existence in centuries. Scientists have discovered that these sharks can live for at least 250 years, and some individuals are estimated to be over 500 years old. To grasp the weight of that time, imagine a shark swimming through the icy waters today that might have been born before the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock, or perhaps even while Leonardo da Vinci was painting the Mona Lisa. It has moved through the ocean, silent and steady, while the world above transformed entirely, century after century. It is a witness to the history of the world, held in the cold, dark embrace of the deep sea. The biology of the Greenland shark is a masterclass in slow living. Because of the extreme cold, its metabolism is incredibly sluggish. This slow pace is reflected in every aspect of its life. For instance, a Greenland shark does not even reach what we would call adulthood, the age at which it can reproduce, until it is roughly 150 years old. It spends a century and a half simply growing, inching toward maturity at a rate that would be imperceptible to us. It is a childhood that lasts longer than the entire lifespan of almost every other vertebrate on Earth. As you lie there, perhaps noticing the gentle rise and fall of your own chest, consider the rhythmic, steady pulse of this shark. Its heart beats only 5 times per minute. It is a slow, deliberate thrum that powers a body designed for endurance rather than speed. In the freezing water, there is no need for frantic movement or sudden bursts of energy. The Greenland shark moves at a leisurely pace of about 1 mile per hour. It does not chase. It simply persists, gliding through the darkness with a patience that is almost meditative. Everything about this creature suggests that the key to longevity is a refusal to be hurried. It has found a way to exist in harmony with the cold and the dark, turning the harsh conditions of the deep ocean into a sanctuary of time. It is a reminder that there is a profound strength in moving slowly, in conserving energy, and in allowing the rhythms of life to unfold over vast stretches of history. This shark doesn't fight the environment. It lets the environment dictate a pace that allows for a life of unprecedented length. But the Greenland shark is not the only inhabitant of the sea to have unlocked a unique relationship with time. The ocean is home to many strategies for survival, some of which challenge our very understanding of what it means to grow old. As we leave the silent, icy corridors of the North Atlantic, we move toward warmer, shallower waters to find a tiny, translucent creature that has taken the concept of aging and turned it entirely on its head. This creature doesn't just slow down the clock. It has learned how to turn the hands of time backward, starting the cycle of life anew whenever it chooses. Imagine a creature no larger than a person's smallest fingernail, drifting through the warm currents of the Mediterranean and the waters of Japan. This is the Turritopsis dohorni, more commonly known as the immortal jellyfish. While the Greenland shark finds longevity through a slow, steady pace, this tiny, translucent bell has discovered a far more radical way to handle the passage of time. It does not merely slow down its aging, it has the remarkable ability to reverse it entirely. When this jellyfish reaches the end of its natural life cycle as a floating medusa, or when it faces extreme stress, injury, or even starvation, it doesn't simply fade away. Instead, it undergoes a transformation that seems like something out of a legend. It sinks toward the ocean floor, contracts its body, and begins to revert its cells back to their very earliest form. It essentially turns itself back into a tiny, undifferentiated blob of tissue, which then develops back into a polyp, the juvenile, stationary stage of its life cycle. From this polyp, a brand new colony of jellyfish can eventually grow, each one genetically identical to the original. It is the biological equivalent of a butterfly turning back into a caterpillar, or a bird returning to its egg. This process is known to scientists as transdifferentiation. It is a rare and profound biological event where a mature specialized cell, perhaps a muscle cell or a nerve cell, actually transforms into a completely different type of specialized cell. It is as if the body decides to rewrite its own instructions, returning to a state of pure potential. Because the Turritopsis dohrnii can repeat this cycle indefinitely, it is considered biologically immortal. In the absence of predators or disease, it could, in theory, live forever, cycling back and forth between youth and maturity in an endless loop of renewal. It exists in a state of perpetual beginning, a quiet reminder that life possesses a deep, hidden resilience. As you drift deeper into relaxation, let the image of this tiny pulsing light in the water bring a sense of ease. The immortal jellyfish teaches us that the story of aging is not always a straight line from beginning to end, but can sometimes be a circle, a recurring rhythm of change and adaptation. Even within our own bodies, though we may not revert to our childhood forms, there is a constant, quiet work of renewal happening every single day. Our cells are listening, repairing, and maintaining the delicate balance of our existence. As we move away from the mysterious depths of the ocean and return our thoughts to the human experience, we find that our own relationship with time is equally fascinating. While our physical bodies follow a more linear path than the immortal jellyfish, our minds develop their own unique strategies for navigating the years. As we grow older, the brain doesn't just accumulate memories, it actually shifts the way it processes the world around us. There is a quiet, beautiful evolution that takes place within the mind, a softening of edges and a deepening of perspective that brings a new kind of peace. Just as the jellyfish finds a way to start over, our brains find ways to refine themselves, focusing more on what brings us comfort and joy, and letting the unnecessary weights of the world drift away. As we travel through the years, a curious and beautiful phenomenon begins to take shape within the architecture of our minds. Scientists call it the positivity effect. It is a gentle shift in the way we perceive the world around us. While a younger mind might be hyper-aware of every potential threat or negative detail, scanning the horizon for what might go wrong, the maturing brain begins to do something quite different. It starts to prioritize the positive. In studies of memory and attention, researchers have found that older adults naturally focus more on uplifting information, pleasant faces, and heartwarming memories. It is as if the mind, having seen so much of life's complexity, decides to curate a more peaceful internal gallery, choosing to dwell on the light rather than the shadows. This isn't just a conscious choice. It is rooted in the very biology of our emotions. Deep within the brain lies the amygdala, a small almond-shaped structure that serves as our emotional alarm system. In our earlier years, the amygdala is often highly reactive, firing off signals of stress or anxiety at the slightest provocation. It is vigilant, always on guard, helping us navigate the high-stakes world of youth. But as the decades pass, this tiny sentinel begins to soften. It becomes less reactive to negative stimuli, no longer ringing its alarm quite so loudly or quite so often. This physiological change leads to what many experience as a mellowing, a more stable and peaceful emotional baseline. The highs and lows of life's emotional weather begin to level out into a calm, steady climate. There is a profound sense of relief in this biological settling, a quiet realization that not every ripple in the water requires a storm. You may have noticed this in yourself or those you love, a capacity to remain unruffled by the small frustrations that once seemed so significant. This emotional stability is a cornerstone of what we commonly call wisdom. In the world of science, wisdom is not a vague or mystical concept. It is specifically defined as the successful integration of logic and emotion. It is the ability to look at a complex situation and use the cold, hard facts provided by the rational mind, while simultaneously tempering them with the warmth and empathy of the heart. A wise mind knows that a problem is rarely just a puzzle to be solved, but a human experience to be felt. This balance allows for better decision-making and a deeper sense of contentment as the brain learns to navigate life not with the frantic energy of a sprinter, but with the steady, assured pace of a seasoned traveler. This newfound peace is not a sign of the brain slowing down or fading away. In fact, it is quite the opposite. These emotional shifts are supported by physical changes that are happening deep within the folds of the cerebral cortex and the hidden chambers of the memory centers. As the mind becomes more adept at managing its internal world, the physical brain continues to adapt and reshape itself in surprising ways. We often hear stories of the brain inevitably declining with age, but modern science tells a much more hopeful and intricate story, a story of continued growth, hidden resilience, and the remarkable ability of our neurons to forge new paths even in the quietest hours of our lives. As you breathe slowly, let your mind rest in the knowledge that it's constantly evolving, growing more refined and more peaceful with every passing day. It is a common misconception that the brain is a vessel that simply drains over time, a machine that inevitably wears down and loses its luster. For many years, even the scientific community believed that we were born with a set number of neurons and that we spent our lives slowly losing them. But we now know that this is a myth. The reality is far more beautiful and hopeful. Your brain possesses a remarkable quality called neuroplasticity, the ability to reshape itself, to forge new paths, and to grow even as the years pass in a quiet, steady stream. Deep within the brain lies a small, curved structure called the hippocampus. It is the seat of memory and learning, a place of constant activity. Scientists have discovered that even in our later years, the hippocampus continues to produce new neurons. This process, known as neurogenesis, is like a quiet, ongoing birth of new life within the mind. Every time you learn a new craft, listen to a new story, or simply sit in quiet reflection, your brain is capable of creating fresh connections. It is a garden that never truly stops blooming, provided it is tended with curiosity and rest. As we move through the decades, we also encounter a phenomenon known as crystallized intelligence. While the fluid intelligence of youth, the raw speed of processing, may peak early, our crystallized intelligence, the vast library of knowledge, vocabulary, and life experience, actually continues to grow and strengthen. For many, this peak occurs in the 60s and 70s. It is the culmination of every book read, every conversation shared, and every lesson learned. Your mind becomes a rich tapestry of information where the threads are woven so tightly that they form a resilient and sturdy foundation. You aren't losing your edge. You are gaining a deeper, more profound kind of clarity. Perhaps most fascinating is how the physical structure of the brain adapts to solve problems. In younger brains, tasks are often handled by one specific hemisphere, either the logical left or the creative right. But as we age, the brain begins to exhibit what researchers call bilateralization. The two hemispheres begin to work more closely together, reaching across the divot to share the workload. It is as if the brain realizes that two hands are better than one, calling on all its resources to navigate complex challenges. This cooperation allows for a more holistic way of thinking, where logic and intuition are perfectly balanced. This internal partnership is why older adults are often better at seeing the big picture, finding solutions that are both practical and empathetic. The brain works tirelessly to maintain this harmony, creating a sense of internal stability that mirrors the outward softening of our pace. And just as the mind matures into this state of integrated wisdom, the rest of our physical being follows suit, carrying the marks of our journey with a quiet, understated grace. The story of our lives is not just held within the furring of neurons or the storage of memories. It is also written on the very surface of our being. As we turn our attention from the inner workings of the mind to the external world, we begin to see how time leaves its gentle signature on the skin, transforming it into a soft, living record of every moment we have ever lived. This transition from the hidden depths of the brain to the tactile reality of our outer selves is a natural progression, a movement from the thoughts we think to the world we touch and feel. Think for a moment about your skin. It is the most extensive organ of your body, the soft frontier where you end and the rest of the universe begins. Over time, this frontier transforms, becoming a living testament to the years you have navigated. It is a story written in the most subtle of inks, a physical narrative of every expression you have ever made and every environment you have ever moved through. We often think of the changes in our skin as signs of wear, but in the quiet language of biology, they are the signatures of a life fully engaged with the world. Consider the lines that grace a face over many decades. These wrinkles are not random. They are formed by the repetitive, beautiful motions of our expressions. The fine, radiating lines at the corners of the eyes, often called laugh lines, are the physical echoes of thousands of moments of joy. Every time you have smiled at a friend or squinted against the bright golden light of a summer afternoon, your skin is folded in a familiar, rhythmic pattern. Over time, the skin remembers these moments, holding on to them as permanent reminders of the happiness and light you have encountered. They are marks of character, proof that you have laughed, felt deeply, and looked closely at the world around you. As the years pass, the physical composition of our skin undergoes a graceful softening. The layers become slightly thinner and more translucent, which leads to a surprising and beautiful shift and increased sensitivity to gentle touch. Because the skin is more delicate, the sensory receptors just beneath the surface become more attuned to the world. The brush of a soft cotton sheet, the warmth of a nearby lamp, or the lightest cooling breeze becomes more vivid and present. It is as if, as we age, the body decides to become more receptive to the gentleness of its surroundings, allowing us to feel the textures of life with more intimacy. This change is accompanied by a shift in the body's internal timing. The turnover of skin cells, which happens quite rapidly in our younger years, begins to move at a more patient, unhurried pace. In youth, the body is in a constant rush to renew, but as we mature, the process slows down. This slower cycle creates a skin texture that is remarkably soft and fine, often compared to the feel of ancient silk or a well-worn book. It is a texture that reflects a body that is no longer in a hurry, a body that has settled into a steady, enduring rhythm. These character lines and textural shifts combine to create a unique biological map. No two maps are the same. Your skin carries the specific history of your life, the places you've been, the emotions you've favored, and the quiet moments of rest you've taken. It is a map of resilience and experience, etched with a gentle hand. As you lie there now, feel the weight of your body against the mattress. Notice the sensation of the fabric against your skin, the softness of the pillow, the comforting heaviness of the duvet. Take a slow, deep breath in, feeling your chest expand, and then let it out slowly, releasing any tension in your shoulders. Let your awareness drift from the surface of your skin to the space just beneath it. Within that protective, storied envelope, there is a steady, rhythmic pulse. It is a constant, reliable presence that has accompanied you through every one of those smiles and every one of those years. As we settle deeper into the stillness of the night, let us listen to the quiet, powerful shape of the heart. The heart is the most faithful of companions. Even now, as your breath slows and your mind begins to drift, your heart continues its steady, reliable work. It is a rhythm that has been with you since your first moments, a constant drummer providing the backbeat to your entire life. It is easy to take this persistence for granted, but when we look at the numbers, the sheer scale of its dedication is breathtaking. Over the course of a 70-year life, the average human heart will beat about 2.5 billion times. That is 2.5 billion moments of expansion and contraction, each one a testament to the incredible endurance and design of your body. The tissue that makes up your heart is unlike any other muscle in your frame. It is built for a lifelong marathon rather than sudden bursts of strength. While your arms or legs might grow tired after a day of activity, The cardiac muscle is designed to be incredibly resilient and efficient. It possesses a unique ability to keep going, minute after minute, year after year, without ever needing to pause. It is the ultimate specialist, moving with a grace that is both powerful and remarkably quiet. Interestingly, as we grow older, our hearts become even more adept at managing their energy, just as we learn to prioritize what truly matters in our daily lives. The heart becomes more focused in its effort. It becomes more efficient at distributing oxygen and nutrients, learning to pace itself with a seasoned, steady wisdom. It is a form of internal refinement that comes only with time. The heart settles into its role, moving from the more rapid pace of youth into a measured, reliable cadence that reflects a body that knows how to conserve its strength. Right now, as you lie in the stillness, your heart is likely beating at its resting rate. This slow, steady pulse is a signal to every other system in your body that it is safe to let go. A resting heart rate is the biological signature of a body in a state of profound calm. It tells your nervous system that the day is done, the world is at peace, and it is time for deep restoration. This rhythm acts as a gentle anchor, grounding you in the present moment as you prepare for the transition into sleep. But beneath this pulsing, living muscle lies something even more enduring. While the heart provides the rhythm of your life, your skeleton provides the structure, a silent, strong framework that supports you in every movement. And just like the heart and the skin, your bones have their own story of constant change and quiet renewal, working deep within the stillness of your body to keep you strong and steady. Even in the deepest part of your physical self, there is a process of growth and rebuilding that never truly stops. Now, let your mind drift deeper, past the muscles and the soft tissues, down to the very foundation of your being. We often think of our skeleton as something fixed and static, something hard and unchanging, like a stone or a piece of ancient wood. But in reality, your bones are as alive as your heart. They are a living, breathing architecture, a quiet forest of minerals that is constantly renewing itself in the dark. Even in the profound stillness of this moment, your skeletal system is engaged in a patient, rhythmic process of transformation. Right now, while you are resting, a silent team of specialized cells is at work within you. This is the process known as bone remodeling. It is a slow, methodical dance of creation and recreation that happens entirely out of sight. Group of cells gently clears away older bone tissue, while another group follows behind, laying down fresh, new bone in its place. It is a form of internal sculpting, a continuous refinement that ensures your structure remains vibrant and resilient. Because of this constant, quiet activity, your skeleton is never truly the same from one day to the next. It is a living landscape that is always being tended to. In fact, the rate of this renewal is so steady and so thorough that approximately every 10 years, you have an entirely new skeleton. Think of that for a moment as you settle into your blankets. The person you were a decade ago had a completely different physical frame than the one you inhabit tonight. You are a masterpiece in a state of continuous, gentle restoration. This cycle of rebirth ensures that your bones stay strong enough to support you through all of life's journeys, yet flexible enough to absorb the stresses of a lifetime of movement. It is a quiet promise of longevity, written into the very marrow of your being. The way your bones are built is a miracle of natural engineering. If you were to look deep inside a bone, you wouldn't see a solid, heavy mass. Instead, you would see a beautiful, intricate lattice, a web of delicate spans and arches known as trabecular bone. This porous, honeycomb-like design is what allows your skeleton to be incredibly strong while remaining light enough for you to move with ease. It is the same principle that architects use to build great cathedrals and soaring bridges, achieving maximum strength with the least amount of weight. It is a structure designed for both endurance and grace, supporting you without ever weighing you down. Beyond providing this elegant structure, your bones serve as a vital reservoir for the rest of your body. They are a storehouse for essential minerals like calcium and phosphorus, which are necessary for almost every biological function. This remodeling process isn't just about maintaining strength, it's about balance. Your skeleton ensures that these minerals are always available for your heart to beat and your nerves to send their quiet electrical signals. It is a selfless system, a foundation that supports your life in ways that go far beyond the physical act of standing or walking. As we settle into the quiet strength of our frame, we can feel a sense of security in the knowledge that our body is always rebuilding itself, always looking after our needs even while we sleep. And just as our bones provide a stable internal landscape, our senses, our sight, our hearing, our touch, provide the gateway to the world outside. As the years go by, these gateways undergo their own gentle transformation. It is a sensory softening, a subtle change in how we perceive the world that brings a new kind of peace and a deeper, more inward focus. As we rest here, nestled in the quiet strength of our own architecture, we might notice how the world around us begins to feel different, as if the sharp edges of the day are slowly being rounded off. This is part of a natural process, a gentle recalibration of our senses that happens over the course of a long and full life. It is as if the universe, in its wisdom, decided that as we gather more internal richness, the external world should become a little softer, a little more muted, to allow us the space to reflect. Our eyes, for instance, undergo a change that is quite poetic. The lenses, which have spent years focusing on the intricate details of our lives, begin to yellow very slightly. This isn't a loss of clarity so much as a change in atmosphere. This subtle yellowing acts as a natural filter, much like the warm glow of a candle or the amber light of a sunset. It filters out the harsh blue-white glare of the midday sun and replaces it with a spectrum of warmer, richer tone. When you look at a landscape through this lens, the world appears more cohesive, more integrated, bathed in a permanent golden hour that makes every scene feel a little more peaceful, a little more like home. At the same time, our hearing undergoes its own quiet transformation. The delicate structures of the inner ear, which have vibrated to the sounds of a million conversations and the rush of the wind, begin to lose their sensitivity to the highest frequencies. The sharp, piercing sounds, the ones that often signal urgency or stress, begin to fade into the background. What remains are the lower, resonant frequencies, the deep rumble of a distant storm, the low murmur of a familiar voice, the steady thrum of the earth. This sensory softening acts as a natural buffer against the noise of the modern world. It creates a space where the mind can settle, free from the constant pinging of high-pitched distractions. It is as if the world is whispering to us, inviting us into a more inward meditative state, where we can finally hear the steady beat of our own hearts. And while the input from our senses might become more subtle, the brain itself grows even more adept. It doesn't need every single pixel of information to understand the beauty of a painting, nor every syllable to understand the meaning of a sentence. Through a lifetime of learning, the brain becomes a master of pattern recognition. It fills in the blanks with a quiet confidence, drawing on a vast library of memories and experiences to interpret the world around us. This efficiency is a form of grace. It allows us to see the essence of things without being overwhelmed by the details. We begin to see the underlying connections, the rhythms, and the cycles that govern all of life. This softening of the self is mirrored in the very bones of the earth. Just as our senses mellow and our perspective deepens, the planet itself is in a constant state of being smoothed and refined by the passage of time. To understand this, we must shift our gaze from the minutes and hours of a human life to the immense, patient scale of deep time, where even the most formidable giants of the natural world eventually yield to the gentle, persistent touch of the elements. Imagine the mountains as the grand elders of our world. They are the silent witnesses to the passage of eons, standing with a patience that we can only begin to fathom. When we look at a mountain range, we often see its height or its ruggedness, but if we look closer, we can see its age. There is a profound difference between a young mountain and an old one, a difference that tells a story of endurance and grace. Take, for instance, the Appalachian Mountains. Today, they appear as gentle, rolling waves of green, their summits soft and rounded, covered in a thick blanket of ancient forest. But there was a time, nearly 480 million years ago, when these mountains were the giants of the earth. They were once as tall and as formidable as the Himalayas are today, with sharp, jagged peaks that pierce the highest reaches of the atmosphere. They were born from the collision of continents, a monumental upheaval of stone and fire. For 480 million years, these mountains have stood their ground. They have weathered the arrival and departure of countless species, the shifting of the poles, and the slow dance of the continents. Over these immense stretches of time, they have been touched by the relentless, gentle hands of wind and rain. Every raindrop that has fallen on those peaks, every gust of wind that has swept through their valleys, has carried away a tiny grain of sand. It is a process that happens so slowly, it is invisible to a human eye, yet it is as persistent as the tides. This is the beauty of the rounded peak. In the natural world, a sharp edge is often a sign of youth, of a lack of experience with the elements. The rounded, softened curves of the Appalachians are a testament to their immense age. They have endured. They have allowed the world to shape them, yielding their sharpest points to the sky until they reached a state of balance and repose. Their height has been traded for a deep grounded stability. They no longer strive to reach upward. They are content to settle into the earth, providing a steady home for the life that clings to their slopes. We often think of erosion as a form of destruction, a wearing away of something grand. But in the language of the earth, erosion is not an ending. It is a process of refinement. It is the earth's way of reshaping itself, of finding its most comfortable and sustainable form. The mountains are not disappearing. They are being redistributed. The stone that once stood in the clouds is carried down by the streams and rivers, feeding the valleys with rich minerals, and eventually making its way to the great basins of the world. As the mountains grow older and softer, they remind us that there is a quiet strength in yielding to time. There is a majesty in being weathered, a dignity in the lines carved by the wind. They show us that to be worn is actually to be refined into something more enduring, more integrated with the world around us. And as the rain continues its patient work, washing the essence of the mountains down into the lowlands, it carries with it the ancient chemistry of the land, leading us toward the vast, deep cradles of the planet. The water that flows from these elder mountains eventually finds its way to the sea, carrying with it the minerals and salts gathered from millions of years of travel. Just as the mountains have aged and softened, the oceans, too, have a story of immense time, held within the very taste of their waves. The story of the mountain becomes the story of the water, and the water leads us into the heart of the ancient, salty blue. As we follow the path of the water from the high weathered peaks down to the shore, we find ourselves standing at the edge of the world's greatest memory, the ocean. There is a familiar scent in the air, a certain weight to the mist that rises from the surf. If you have ever tasted a stray drop of seawater or felt the salt on your skin after a day at the beach, you have touched the secret the ocean keeps. The salt in our blood and the salt in the sea are one and the same. We carry a piece of the ancient world within us, a quiet, rhythmic echo of the deep. It is a comforting thought to realize that even in the stillness of your room, you are connected to the vast, pulsing heart of the planet by the very chemistry of your life. It is a staggering thought to realize that the oceans have been salty for nearly 4 billion years. Almost as long as the earth has had liquid water, it has held this mineral richness. While the surface of our planet was being transformed by fire and ice, and while the atmosphere was shifting from its early alien gases into the air we breathe today, the ocean remained a constant, briny cradle. It is one of the oldest features of our world, a vast solution that has held the ingredients of life since the very beginning, waiting patiently for the first sparks of existence to take hold. What is perhaps even more remarkable is how stale this saltiness has remained. Over eons, the salinity of the ocean has stayed within a very narrow, predictable range. This is what scientists call a steady state. Even though rivers are constantly pouring new minerals into the sea from the erosion of mountains, and even though the sun is constantly evaporating fresh water away, the ocean maintains its balance. It is a massive, self-regulating system that has refused to become too salty or too fresh for billions of years. It is a testament to the Earth's ability to find a rhythm and hold it, creating a sense of permanence in a universe of change. This incredible stability provided the perfect nursery for early life. In a world that was often chaotic, The ocean was a place of deep chemical peace. It offered a consistent environment where the first delicate cells could form, protected by the density and the predictable nature of the water. Life didn't have to struggle against a fluctuating chemistry. It could simply exist, bathed in a warm, mineral-rich embrace that never wavered. This consistency allowed the slow, beautiful complexity of biology to unfold at its own pace. Sheltered by the ancient sea, even now, billions of years later, we carry this ancient chemistry of the sea within our own bodies. Our internal environment, the fluid that surrounds our cells and the blood that carries oxygen to our hearts, is a biological mirror of those primeval oceans. We are, in a very real sense, walking containers of seawater, maintaining our own internal steady state, just as the planet does. When you feel the calm, steady rhythm of your own pulse, you are feeling a rhythm that began in the tides of a world we can only imagine. This connection to the deep past is a gentle reminder of how integrated we are into the history of the earth. We are not separate from the world, we are made of it. The same minerals that give the ocean its character give us our life. And as we look out over the water, we see not just a boundary, but a beginning. But the ocean does more than just hold life. It also holds the stories of those who came before. As the waters shift and the land rises, the sea leaves behind more than just salt. It leaves a path for time to freeze, turning the soft forms of life into the enduring strength of stone, beginning a long, patient journey of preservation. As the ancient seas receded and the land shifted, the stories of life didn't simply vanish. Instead, some were carefully tucked away, preserved for millions of years in the quiet embrace of stone. This is the art of fossilization, a process that is, in truth, an incredibly rare and gentle miracle. For a living thing to become a fossil, everything must happen in a state of perfect stillness. It is a slow, patient transformation where the soft, fleeting moments of a life are traded molecule by molecule for the enduring strength of the earth. Most things that live eventually return to the cycle of nature, disappearing completely. But every so often, an organism finds its way into a place of profound peace. Perhaps the silt at the bottom of a still lake or the fine dust of a volcanic ashfall. Here, away from the air and the elements, the world holds its breath. Fossilization requires a delicate balance of pressure and time. If the weight of the earth above is too heavy, the form is lost. If the time is too short, the minerals cannot do their work. But when the balance is just right, the water seeping through the ground carries minerals that fill the tiny spaces within a bone or a shell, turning it into a mountain's memory. It is a process that cannot be rushed. It happens at the speed of the earth itself. It is easy to think of fossils as only cold, hard skeletons, but the earth is capable of preserving much more delicate truths. In the right conditions, the process is so fine that it captures the ghost of a texture, the intricate lace-like veins of a prehistoric leaf, the pebbled surface of a creature's skin, or even the soft, wispy structure of a feather. These fossils allow us to look back across the eons and see not just the shapes of the past, but the softness of it. We can see the way a wing might have caught the wind, or how a flower might have bloomed in a world that had never seen a human eye. There is a profound sense of continuity in these stones, a reminder that the beauty we see today has roots that reach back through unimaginable stretches of time. In some places, time is even more generous. Think of amber, the hardened resin of ancient trees. It acts like a drop of golden sunlight, frozen forever. Inside a piece of amber, an ancient flower can be found in perfect, translucent clarity, its petals as delicate today as they were when they first fell millions of years ago. It is a form of biological immortality, a way for the most fragile parts of our world to endure through the vast stretches of deep time. The amber protects these tiny wonders from the decay of the world, holding them in a warm amber light that never fades. As we run our hands over the smooth surface of a fossil or gaze into the depths of amber, we are touching the history of our home. We are seeing how the earth remembers its children, holding them safely through the turning of the ages. Yet, as ancient as these stones are, they are young compared to the structures that watch over us from above. The minerals in the fossils, the carbon in the ancient leaves, and even the atoms in our own bodies were once part of something much larger and much older. To truly understand the scale of time and the quiet patience of existence, we must lift our eyes from the ground and look toward the heavens, where the oldest residents of our universe continue their slow, silent journey through the dark, burning with a light that began long before the earth was even a whisper in the dust. Lift your eyes now, in your mind's eye, from the ancient stones and the golden amber of the earth to the velvet darkness of the night sky. There is a quiet majesty in the stars, a steady glow that has watched over the world for eons, long before the first forests grew or the first mountains rose. When we look up, we are looking at the ultimate elders of our universe, celestial bodies that measure their lives in stretches of time that make the history of our planet seem like a mere heartbeat. Among these celestial lights, there are some that possess a patience that defies our imagination. These are the red dwarfs. They are smaller than our sun, cooler, and much dimmer. Yet they carry a secret of longevity that is unmatched in the cosmos. While larger, more massive stars burn through their fuel in a magnificent, fleeting flash, the red dwarf is like a slow-burning ember in a cosmic hearth. They are incredibly efficient, circulating their hydrogen fuel so thoroughly that they can keep their gentle glow alive for an inconceivable duration. Scientists estimate that these patient stars can live for trillions of years. To put that in perspective, the entire universe is currently thought to be about 13.8 billion years old. This means that a trillion years is nearly 100 times longer than the universe has even existed. Because of this, we live in a very young universe indeed. In fact, not a single red dwarf star has ever reached old age. Every one of these stars that has ever been born since the dawn of time is still out there today, shining quietly in the deep, having barely begun its long journey through the dark. They are the marathon runners of the stars, steady and unhurried. Our own sun, by comparison, is a different kind of traveler. It is a medium-sized star, bright and yellow, and it is currently in the stable prime of its life. It has been burning steadily for about 4.6 billion years, providing the perfect, reliable warmth that allows life to flourish on our small blue world. It is a middle-aged star halfway through its long story, acting as a golden anchor for everything we know. But stars are more than just distant points of light or sources of heat. They are the ultimate recyclers and creators of the cosmos. Inside their fiery, pressurized hearts, stars perform a kind of celestial alchemy. They take the simplest element, hydrogen, and fuse it into helium. And as they age, they create even heavier elements like carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen. When stars eventually reach the end of their lives and release their hold on these materials, they cast them out into the vastness of space. These elements, the very building blocks of planets, mountains, and even our own bodies, are gathered up from the remnants of stars that lived and died long ago. The iron in your blood and the calcium in your bones were forged in the heat of a star's core. We are, in a very real and physical sense, made of stardust, carrying the ancient legacy of the heavens within us as we sleep. As you settle deeper into the comfort of your bed, imagine that slow, rhythmic cycle of cosmic birth and rebirth. The universe is not in a hurry. It moves with a deliberate, peaceful grace across billions and trillions of years, and yet, even the oldest stars were not the first things to shine. Beyond the glow of the red dwarfs and the warmth of our sun, there is a light that is older still, a faint, ancient echo that has been traveling toward us since the very beginning of time itself. Imagine, for a moment, that the night sky is not actually dark. If our eyes could perceive the oldest reaches of the spectrum, we would see that every inch of the heavens is glowing with a soft, uniform light. This is what scientists call the cosmic microwave background radiation, but you might think of it as the universe's first quiet breath. It is the gentle afterglow of the Big Bang, the lingering warmth from the moment the universe first began to unfold. In the very beginning, the cosmos was a thick, hot, and opaque fog of particles. Light couldn't travel through it. It was trapped, bouncing around like a whisper in a crowded room. But as the universe expanded and cooled, a magnificent transition occurred. About 380,000 years after the start of everything, the fog finally cleared. In an instant of profound silence, the first light was set free to travel across the void. That light has been traveling ever since. It has been moving through the vast, expanding emptiness for 13.8 billion years. It has drifted past the formation of the very first galaxies, witnessed the birth and eventual fading of countless generations of stars, and crossed the silent reaches of the deep to reach us here on our small orbiting home. Because it comes from the very dawn of the cosmos, it is the oldest thing we can observe in the entire universe. It is a literal snapshot of the universe in its infancy, a grainy, beautiful map of the seeds from which everything we know eventually grew. Today, this ancient light has cooled significantly. It has stretched out across the eons, turning from a brilliant glow into a faint cold hum that fills the entire sky. It is everywhere at once. It is in the space between the stars, and it is in the very room where you are resting right now. It is the ultimate background noise, a cosmic lullaby that has been playing steadily since the beginning of time. If you were to turn on an old-fashioned television to a channel with no signal, a small fraction of the static you would see on the screen is actually caused by this ancient afterglow interfering with the antenna. It is a physical connection to the birth of time itself, appearing as a soft flickering mist. There is a deep, resonant peace in knowing that we are surrounded by such a steady and ancient presence. The universe is not a chaotic or hurried place. It is a vast expanse defined by these long, slow rhythms that span billions of years. And just as the cosmos has its own history and its own unfolding story, we carry our own internal rhythms within us. As you lie there, feeling the weight of your body against the mattress, you might notice how your own sense of time begins to soften. Just as the universe transitioned from a hot, busy fog into a clear and calm expanse, your mind is beginning to clear the busy thoughts of the day. Our bodies are finally tuned to the passage of time, governed by internal clocks that have been refined over millions of years of evolution. As we move through the different seasons of our lives, these rhythms change, guiding us toward new patterns of rest and reflection. In the quiet of the night, we are simply returning to the same steady pulse that governs the stars and the ancient light that fills the sky. We are part of that long, unbroken chain of time, drifting toward a place of deep and restorative stillness. Just as the universe has its long, slow cycles, our own bodies follow a rhythm that gently shifts as the years pass. You may have noticed that the way we sleep, the very architecture of our rest, is not a static thing. It is a living process that breathes and evolves alongside us. As we move into the later chapters of our lives, the internal clock that has guided us since birth begins to find a new, perhaps more ancient tempo. Many people find that as they grow older, they naturally become early birds. There is a quiet beauty in this transition. While the rest of the world is still tucked away in dreams, the older body often stirs with the first light of dawn. This isn't a sign of restlessness, but rather a natural recalibration of the body's circadian rhythms. Scientists call this advanced sleep phase syndrome. Though the word syndrome might sound clinical, in the context of a long life, it is simply a shift in the timing of the body's internal machinery. The internal clock, located in a small part of the brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, begins to trigger the release of sleep hormones like melatonin earlier in the evening. In turn, it signals the body to wake earlier in the morning, aligning the human spirit with the very first rays of the sun. In these quiet early hours, there is a profound sense of peace. The world is still, the air is often cool, and the mind is clear. For many, the quality of sleep in these years becomes less about the total number of hours clocked and more about the consistency of the rhythm. While a younger person might sleep for 10 hours in a scattered, heavy fog, an older adult often finds deep restoration in a shorter, more rhythmic window of rest. It is a shift from quantity to a steady, reliable harmony. The body learns to prioritize the most restorative stages of sleep, ensuring that even if the night is shorter, the rest is meaningful. Within this new rhythm, there is also the gentle return of the nap. In many cultures, a brief rest in the afternoon is seen as a vital part of a healthy life. For the aging body, Napping is a sophisticated way of restoring energy and processing the day's experiences. It is a moment of quiet surrender, a 20-minute dip back into the restorative waters of sleep that helps maintain cognitive clarity and emotional balance. These short intervals of rest are like commas in a long, beautiful sentence, providing the space needed to breathe and continue with grace. This physical settling, this movement toward an earlier, more consistent rhythm, is often mirrored by a settling of the mind. Just as the body finds its pace and stops trying to rush through the night, the internal landscape of our thoughts begins to find a similar sense of ease. The frantic energy of youth, which often views sleep as a hurdle or a lost opportunity, gradually gives way to a deeper appreciation for the stillness. We begin to see that rest is not just a biological necessity, but a sanctuary. This physical transition into a more rhythmic, morning-oriented life serves as a gateway to a broader psychological peace. As the body learns to be still, the mind follows, moving toward a stage of life defined not by what is yet to be done, but by the quiet satisfaction of simply being present in the moment. This softening of our internal time allows us to look back on the journey with a new kind of clarity, finding a steady, enduring happiness that resides in the simple rhythm of a well-rested heart. As the mind and body settle into these more rhythmic, morning-oriented patterns, a parallel transformation begins to unfold within our emotional landscape. This internal shift is often described by researchers as the U-bend of happiness. If you were to trace the trajectory of a human life on a graph, you would see a line that starts high in the carefree days of youth, dips into a valley during the busy, often stressful middle years, and then begins a steady, beautiful climb upward once again. Statistical studies across the globe have consistently shown that happiness and life satisfaction often reach a significant peak in the 60s and 70s. It is a gentle realization that the most contented years of a person's life are not necessarily behind them, but often waiting in the quietude of later decades. During this time, the frantic pressure to perform or to meet the expectations of others begins to dissolve, replaced by a deep, resonant sense of enough. This rise in contentment is closely linked to a measurable decline in negative emotions. After the age of 50, feelings of stress, anger, and constant worry tend to drop away significantly. It is as if the emotional armor we wore during the heat of our younger years, when we were battling to establish our identities and secure our futures, is no longer needed. The amygdala, that small part of the brain that scans for threats, becomes less reactive to the small frustrations of daily life. We learn through the simple passage of time that most storms are temporary and that we have the inner strength to weather them. Remarkably, this is not just a trend found in one part of the world or among people of a certain background. It is a global phenomenon observed across hundreds of different cultures and countries. Whether in a quiet coastal village or a bustling metropolis, the human spirit seems programmed to find a greater sense of equilibrium as it matures. It is a biological gift that comes with the silvering of hair and the softening of the step, a universal reward for the journey traveled. This profound change is often described as a shift from getting to being. In the first half of life, we are often consumed by the act of acquisition, getting an education, getting a career, getting a home, or getting ahead. Our identity is frequently tied to what we have achieved or what we possess. But as we move into the later stages of the U-bend, the focus turns toward the quality of our presence. We find that the simple act of being, of sitting in the garden, of listening deeply to a friend, or of watching the light change at dusk, is more than sufficient. The drive to accumulate is replaced by the wisdom of appreciation. As this internal peace takes root, it naturally begins to radiate outward. Once we are no longer preoccupied with the struggle of getting, our energy begins to flow toward others in a process known as generativity. This is the stage of life where we feel a deep instinctive call to give back to the next generation. It is the transition from the individual story to the collective one, where the wisdom we have gathered becomes a resource for those who are just beginning their own climb. We start to see ourselves not as isolated travelers, but as vital links in a long, unbroken chain of life, passing on the warmth and the light we have found along the way. This transition from the individual to the collective, this quiet desire to guide those who follow, is a beautiful reflection of a role that has existed in nature for millions of years, the role of the elder. In the wild, being an elder is not a position of weakness, but one of immense, quiet power. It is a role earned through the simple act of enduring, marked by the wisdom of survival and held with a steady, protective grace. Nature does not see age as a decline, but as the accumulation of a resource that the rest of the group cannot live without. We see this most clearly in the great elephant herds that wander the vast savannas. These families are led not by the youngest or the strongest, but by the oldest female, known as the matriarch. She moves with a slow, deliberate pace, her skin a map of the decades she has walked upon the earth. Her leadership is rooted in her memory. In times of profound drought, when the usual watering holes have turned to dust and the grass has withered to gold, the entire herd relies on her. She is able to recall a path to a hidden spring or a distant river that she visited only once, perhaps 50 years prior, during a similar season of dryness. Because she has lived through the long cycles of the earth, her family survives. Her age is their shield, and her memory is the library that keeps them whole. This same pattern of elder wisdom exists in the deep blue silence of the oceans. Among orcas, or killer whales, the grandmothers play a vital and unique role. These females can live for many decades after they have stopped having calves of their own. Far from being a burden, these grandmother orcas are the primary guides for their pods. They lead the way to the best salmon runs and navigate the complex currents of the sea. Scientific studies have shown that the presence of a grandmother significantly increases the survival rate of her grand offspring. She is a teacher and a protector, sharing the cellular wisdom of her species with those who are just beginning to learn the ways of the water. In the language of biology, this is a sophisticated strategy for survival. Knowledge transfer is just as important to the continuation of life as the strength of a limb or the keenness of an eye. The elder becomes a living bridge between the past and the future, ensuring that the lessons learned in one lifetime are not lost, but are passed down like a precious inheritance. It suggests that life values the perspective that only time can provide, the ability to see the patterns in the world and to respond with calm instead of fear. As we think of these ancient leaders, we see that the process of growing older is a way of becoming more deeply woven into the fabric of the world. But while some creatures lead through social wisdom and memory, there are others who embody the power of time through a physical patience that is almost beyond our comprehension. Some lives are lived at a pace so slow, so steady, that they seem to exist in a different dimension of time entirely. Among the most patient of these are the giants of the islands, who carry their history upon their backs and breathe with the slow rhythm of the centuries. Imagine a life where there is never a reason to hurry, where the sun rises and sets tens of thousands of times, and you have only moved a few miles from where you began. This is the world of the giant tortoise, perhaps the most iconic symbol of patience in the natural world. On islands like the Galapagos or the remote atolls of the Indian Ocean, these ancient beings move through the tall grass and volcanic stone with a deliberate, rhythmic grace that makes the concept of a deadline seem entirely foreign. To a giant tortoise, time is not a narrow path, but a vast open field. They can live for well over 170 years, and some documented individuals have reached nearly 2 centuries of life. When a tortoise born today reaches its middle age, the world around it will have changed in ways we cannot even imagine. Yet the tortoise will still be there, blinking slowly at the morning sun, existing in a state of perpetual calm. This incredible longevity is supported by a metabolism that is one of the slowest in the animal kingdom. Their internal fires burn low and steady like a single candle in a windless room. Because they use so little energy, they possess a biological superpower. A giant tortoise can survive for up to a year without eating a single leaf or drinking a drop of water. They carry their own internal reservoirs, drawing on their reserves with a frugality that is a masterpiece of evolutionary engineering. It is a life lived in the ultimate low-power mode, where every movement is intentional and nothing is ever wasted. Much of this energy is conserved through the art of stillness. A giant tortoise is a master of the long rest, spending approximately 16 hours of every day in a state of quiet repose. They do not sleep in the frantic, dream-heavy way that mammals often do. Instead, they settle into the earth, their heavy limbs tucked away, and let the hours wash over them. In these long periods of rest, their heart rate slows to a mere whisper, and their breath becomes a soft, rhythmic sigh that mirrors the sound of the wind in the trees. To watch a resting tortoise is to see a creature that has completely surrendered to the present moment. Even the great, heavy shell they carry is a living part of their journey. It is easy to think of the shell as a static shield, like a suit of armor, but it is actually living tissue fused with their rib cage and spine. It is rich with nerves and blood vessels, meaning a tortoise can feel the gentle tap of a rainstorm or the warmth of a morning sunbeam on its back. The shell grows as the tortoise grows, expanding and thickening over the decades. It is a living record of endurance, a biological map of every season the animal has survived. As we contemplate the tortoise, we are reminded that there's a profound strength in moving slowly, in resting deeply, and in simply existing. But while the tortoise navigates its long life through the greenery of its island home, there are other forms of life that have mastered an even more extreme version of patience. In the most desolate corners of the earth, where the rain almost never falls and the heat is a constant weight, life has found a way to persist for thousands of years without moving at all. We leave the shade of the tortoise's forest and travel across the sea to the ancient, shifting sands of the Namib Desert, where a strange and wonderful plant has been waiting for centuries, drinking the fog and holding its ground against the march of time. Imagine a landscape of rolling copper-colored sand dunes, where the air is so dry it seems to shimmer in the heat. Here, in the heart of the Namib Desert, lives one of the most unusual and patient organisms on our planet, the Welwitschia mirabilis. Most trees and flowers spend their lives producing thousands of leaves, shedding them as the seasons turn and growing new ones in the spring. But the Welwitschia is different. In its entire life, which can span more than 15 centuries, it grows only 2 true leaves. These 2 leaves emerge when the plant is a mere seedling, and they never fall off. Instead, they grow slowly and steadily from a thick, woody base, much like a fingernail that never stops lengthening. Over hundreds of years, the harsh desert winds tear and split these 2 leaves into long, leathery ribbons that sprawl across the parched sand. To an observer, it might look like a tangled pile of debris, but it is actually a single ancient life form. Its 2 original leaves still attached after 1,000 years of sun and wind. In a place where rain may not fall for years at a time, the Welwitschia has mastered the art of drinking from the air. Every morning, a cool, thick fog rolls in from the Atlantic Ocean, draping the desert in a damp, gray blanket. The Welwitschia spreads its tattered leaves wide, capturing the microscopic droplets of moisture and absorbing them through tiny pores. It is a quiet, daily miracle of survival, a testament to the idea that life does not always need abundance to thrive. Sometimes it only needs a small measure of consistency and a great deal of time. Scientists often refer to the Welwitschia as a living fossil. This is because the species has remained virtually unchanged for millions of years, outlasting the dinosaurs and witnessing the slow shifting of the very continents. It does not hurry to bloom, and it does not rush to spread its seeds. It simply exists, anchored to the earth, growing an inch at a time while the world around it transforms. There is a profound desert-baked peace in its presence, a reminder that endurance is often found in the simplest of forms. As we contemplate this ancient plant, we begin to see that time is not just a measurement of age, but a sculptor of character. There is a deep beauty in something that has been shaped and refined by the elements over vast, unimaginable stretches of history. And while the Welwitschia finds its form through the touch of the wind and the ocean fog, there are other treasures hidden even deeper within the earth that are forged by even greater forces. We leave the sun-drenched sands of the desert behind now and begin to descend into the cool, dark silence of the earth's crust, a place where the weight of the world itself turns simple elements into something luminous, crystallized, and eternal. Down here, deep beneath the shifting sands and the roots of ancient plants, the world moves at a different pace. It is a place of absolute stillness and immense weight, where the crushing pressure of the earth above does not destroy, but instead transforms. This is the realm of crystallized beauty, where time and gravity work together to turn the simplest elements into something luminous and eternal. Consider the diamond. It is perhaps the world's most famous symbol of endurance, yet its journey is one of incredible, silent patience. Most diamonds were formed between 1 and 3 billion years ago, a span of time so vast it is difficult to even imagine. They began as simple carbon, trapped more than 100 miles below the surface in the Earth's mantle. There, in the intense heat and under the staggering weight of the crust, the atoms were squeezed into a structure so tight and so perfect that it became the hardest natural substance known to man. For billions of years, these stones waited in the dark, unchanged, while continents drifted above them and life began its slow crawl across the surface. They do not climb to the surface on their own. Instead, they are carried upward by rare and ancient volcanic events, deep-seated eruptions that move with such speed they act as a sort of elevator, bringing the diamonds from the deep mantle to the surface before they have a chance to dissolve. These kimberlite pipes are the only reason we are able to see these billion-year-old treasures today. They are physical reminders that sometimes it takes the greatest pressure to create the greatest clarity. But the earth also creates beauty in softer, more patient ways. In the quiet, dark crevices of ancient stone, another kind of transformation takes place, one that involves the gentle movement of water. This is how the opal is born. Opals are formed by the slow, steady evaporation of silica-rich water that seeps into the cracks of the earth. As the water vanishes over millions of years, it leaves behind tiny spheres of silica, stacked in a precise, orderly fashion. When light hits these layers, it bends and scatters, creating a play of color that looks like trapped moonlight or the glow of a distant nebula. Most opals we find today are between 65 and 145 million years old. They were forming while dinosaurs still walked the earth, growing one microscopic layer at a time in the damp silence of the underground. While the diamond represents the strength of pressure, the opal represents the beauty of persistence, the way that even a single drop of water, given enough time, can leave behind a masterpiece. As you listen to the story of these stones, take a moment to feel the quiet strength within your own body. Just as the earth holds its treasures deep within, you carry a core of resilience that has been shaped by every day you have lived. Feel the steady weight of your limbs against the bed, as if you are being cradled by the very gravity that creates the diamonds. There is a profound peace in knowing that you do not have to rush. Like the silica settling into the stone, or the carbon crystallizing in the deep, your own growth and your own wisdom happen in their own time, steadily and surely. Take a slow, deep breath in, feeling the air fill your lungs, and let it out with a long, soft sigh. Your body is a vessel of incredible durability, designed to handle the pressures of life and turn them into something meaningful. You are grounded, you are safe, and like the most precious things on this planet, you are part of a long, beautiful process of becoming. As we rest in this state of quiet strength, we begin to realize that the same resilience found in the deep earth is also found in the human spirit, a spirit that does not fade with time, but only grows more refined. Just as the earth takes its time to press carbon into diamonds, the human spirit has its own slow, magnificent unfolding. We often hear about the energy of youth, but there is a special kind of strength that arrives later, a second wind of the soul. This isn't a frantic burst of speed, but a steady, calm power that comes from a life well lived. It is the realization that the mind does not necessarily dim as the years pass. Instead, it can become more luminous, like the polished surface of a gemstone. History is filled with individuals who found their greatest clarity in their later years. Contrary to the myth that creativity is a young person's game, many of the most influential artists and scientists did their most profound work in their 80s. They discovered that with age comes a unique perspective, a way of seeing the world that is both broad and deeply focused. Michelangelo is a beautiful example of this enduring spark. At the age of 89, when most would have long since sought total rest, he was still pouring his vision into the world, designing the magnificent dome of St. Peter's Basilica. His hands may have been weathered by time, but his mind remained as expansive as the architecture he created. He saw his work not as a struggle against age, but as a continuation of a lifelong conversation with beauty. This resilience isn't just a matter of willpower. It is reflected in the very biology of our brains. While we often hear about the importance of neurons, the brain also contains white matter, the intricate network of connections that allow different regions of the brain to communicate. Research has shown that this white matter can remain remarkably healthy and robust well into a person's 90s. These internal pathways are like well-traveled roads that have been paved and reinforced over decades, becoming more efficient and reliable. This structural health allows the aging brain to be incredibly adept at seeing the big picture, connecting dots that younger minds might miss. As you breathe slowly, imagine these quiet pathways in your own mind, glowing with the soft light of experience. Every memory and every lesson you have learned has strengthened these connections, creating a rich internal landscape. One of the most powerful ways to maintain this cognitive health is through creative expression. Whether it is through art, writing, music, or even the creative problem solving we use in daily life, the act of making something new is a gentle tonic for the brain. It encourages the growth of new neural branches and keeps the mind flexible. Creative expression is a form of play that the brain never outgrows. It keeps us tethered to the present moment while drawing on the vast library of our past. Take a moment to appreciate the quiet endurance of your own mind. It has carried you through so much, and it continues to adapt, to learn, and to find beauty in the world around you. You are a living testament to the fact that growth does not have an expiration date. As we think about this individual resilience, we can't help but look at the world around us to see where this long, healthy life is most visible. There are certain places on our planet where reaching the age of 100 is not a rare feat, but a common part of the landscape. These regions, known as blue zones, hold the secrets to a life that is not just long, but deeply meaningful and vibrant. By looking at how these communities live, we can find the gentle rhythms that support the human spirit for a century or more. Imagine a map of the world with small, glowing circles marking places where time seems to move a little differently. These are the blue zones, geographical pockets where people don't just survive to see 100, they thrive. In these communities, longevity isn't a struggle or a medical miracle. It is a natural byproduct of a life lived in harmony with the environment and the people around them. In the islands of Okinawa, Japan, there is a word that anchors every day, ikigai. It translates roughly to a reason for being, or more simply, the reason you wake up in the morning. For some, it is the joy of teaching a grandchild a traditional song. For others, it is the simple task of tending to a small garden. This sense of purpose acts like a gentle anchor, keeping the mind focused and the heart steady through the passing decades. When you have a reason to greet the sun, the body responds with a quiet vitality. Perhaps the most beautiful secret of these regions is the power of connection. In many blue zones, researchers have found that strong social ties are the single most important predictor of a long life. In Okinawa, people form moai, small groups of friends who commit to each other for life. They share their joys, they carry each other's burdens, and they ensure that no one ever walks through life alone. This feeling of being truly seen and supported lowers the body's stress hormones, allowing the heart to beat with a calm, rhythmic ease. It is as if the love of others provides a protective layer around the nervous system. The movement in these communities is never rushed or jarring. There are no marathons, only the steady, low-intensity activity of daily life. They walk to the market, they knead bread by hand, and they spend hours in their gardens. Gardening, in particular, is a common thread. The act of reaching into the soil, planting seeds, and watching them grow provides a natural, functional form of exercise that keeps the joints fluid and the muscles strong without the strain of overexertion. It is a slow, meditative dance with the earth. Their nourishment follows a similar path of moderation and respect for the body. A diet rich in plants, beans, greens, and whole grains provides the body with a constant stream of antioxidants and fiber. There is a practice called hara hachibu, an ancient reminder to stop eating when the stomach is 80% full. This gentle restraint prevents the body from being taxed by overdigestion, leaving more energy for the cellular repair and renewal we have spoken of. As you lie there, feeling the weight of your body against the mattress, consider how these simple, life-affirming habits create a sense of deep, resonant peace. This is a peace that comes from knowing you are part of a community, part of a rhythm, and part of a cycle that is much larger than yourself. It is a stillness that exists not just in these specific places on a map, but within the very fabric of existence itself. We are moving toward a state of profound rest, where the worries of the day dissolve into the vast, quiet expanse of time. That stillness we feel when we are truly at rest is mirrored in the very architecture of the cosmos. The universe itself is an ancient breathing entity, and its primary motion is one of letting go. For 13.8 billion years, the universe has been expanding, growing larger and more spacious with every passing second. It is not a chaotic or frantic movement, but a gentle, steady stretching, a cosmic exhale that has been occurring since the dawn of time. Imagine the vastness of that timeline. 13.8 billion years of existence, and yet the universe is still growing, still reaching outward. This expansion serves as a beautiful metaphor for the state we seek as we drift toward sleep. Just as the universe creates more space between the stars, we can allow our minds to create space between our thoughts. We can let the events of the day drift further and further away until they are nothing more than distant, flickering lights on the far horizon of our consciousness. Just in the grand scale of the cosmos, galaxies are moving away from each other, drifting into a quiet and cool future. This is not a lonely process, but a peaceful one. The immense distances between these islands of light ensure that there is a profound, undisturbed stillness in the deep reaches of space. This process of expansion will continue for trillions of years, far beyond the lifespan of any single star. There is no rush in the universe. There is only the patient, inevitable flow of time and space. There is an infinite amount of time for everything to happen exactly as it should. In those vast distances between galaxies, there is a silence so absolute it transcends our earthly understanding of quiet. It is a place where nothing is required, nothing is demanded, and nothing is changing quickly. It is the ultimate expression of peace. When we think of the universe, we often think of the fiery birth of stars or the collision of celestial bodies. But the vast majority of the cosmos is simply this: a quiet, dark, and cool expanse resting in the cradle of the void. It is a reminder that at the heart of all things there is a fundamental stillness. As you contemplate this infinite space, allow your own body to feel that same sense of expansion and release. Imagine the tension in your shoulders and your jaw simply drifting away, like two galaxies moving apart in the cosmic sea. There is so much room for you to just be. You do not need to hold on to any thoughts or worries. You can let the gravity of the earth take over, feeling its steady, reliable pull against your back. Bring your focus now back to the room where you lie. Feel the weight of your limbs as they sink into the mattress. Gravity is the invisible thread that connects you to the planet, a constant and comforting reminder that you are held even as the universe stretches outward into the unknown. You are grounded here, safe and secure. You are a part of this massive, slow-moving clockwork, a single point of awareness in a beautiful, exquisite mystery. The air around you is cool, the blankets are warm, and the rhythm of your breath is a soft, steady pulse. You are perfectly placed in the timeline of the stars, resting in the quiet heart of gravity's embrace, ready to transition from the vastness of the outer world to the intimate peace of your own inner rest. As you lie there, feeling the steady, reliable pull of gravity against the mattress, consider the long and unbroken chain that brought you to this very moment. It is a profound comfort to realize that you are never truly separate from the world around you. You are part of a lineage of life that stretches back billions of years into the misty dawn of our planet. This is not just a poetic idea. It is a biological reality. Scientists have found that you share DNA with every living thing that has ever existed on Earth. The same genetic instructions that tell a sunflower to turn toward the light or a deep-sea whale to glide through the dark are written into the very core of your own cells. We are all variations on a single, beautiful theme of life, connected by a shared history that lives on in your very blood and bone. But this connection goes even deeper than biology, reaching back to the very foundations of the cosmos. The atoms that make up your body, the calcium that gives strength to your skeleton, the iron that carries oxygen through your veins, and the carbon in every fiber of your heart were not originally from our world. They were forged billions of years ago in the intense heat and shimmering pressure of ancient dying stars. When those stars reached the end of their long celestial lives, they collapsed and scattered their elements across the vastness of space. Eventually, that stardust gathered to form our sun, our planet, and in time, you. You are quite literally made of the stars, carrying the ancient history of the galaxy within your physical form. Because you are made of the universe, you are also the means by which the universe understands itself. There is a quiet, staggering beauty in the thought that you are the universe experiencing itself through the lens of time. Through your eyes, the cosmos gazes upon the light of distant suns. Through your senses, the silent matter of space becomes aware of its own warmth, its own weight, and its own existence. You are a way for the ancient vast mystery of the heavens to feel, to think, and to dream. As you drift closer to the edge of sleep, you are simply a small part of the universe, closing its eyes for a moment of well-deserved reflection and rest. Bring your attention now to the soft, rhythmic rise and fall of your chest. Every breath you take is a physical, intimate connection to the Earth's atmosphere. This thin, protective blanket of air has been cycled and recycled by every forest, every ocean, and every living thing for eons. You are breathing the same air that once moved through the lungs of ancient creatures and rustled the leaves of prehistoric ferns. This exchange is a quiet, constant conversation between your body and the planet. With every exhale, you release a small part of yourself back into the world, and with every inhale, the world sustains you. Let this sense of belonging settle over you like a warm, heavy quilt. There is a deep, abiding peace in knowing your place in this grand design. You are supported by the earth, forged by the stars, and connected to the entire web of life by an invisible golden thread. The room is still. The night is quiet. Your body is heavy and warm, ready to let go of the day's journey and return to the restorative ancient silence of the deep. You are exactly where you belong, held in the cradle of time and space. With each breath, that connection to the ancient atmosphere grows softer, more rhythmic. You're entering the final surrender to the night, a transition that is as natural and as necessary as the turning of the earth itself. Your body knows exactly what to do. As you let the last of the day's lingering thoughts drift away like autumn leaves on a slow-moving stream, your biology, begins its most vital work of restoration. While you lie here in the stillness, your body is far from idle. It is performing a series of quiet miracles designed to prepare you for a new beginning. Scientists have discovered that sleep is the time when the brain essentially washes itself. During these quiet hours, the spaces between your brain cells expand slightly, allowing cerebrospinal fluid to flow more freely. This gentle, microscopic tide clears away the metabolic waste, the chemical leftovers of a day of thinking and feeling that has built up while you were awake. It is a profound silent cleansing, a nightly renewal that ensures your mind remains a clear and vibrant space. You are being refreshed from within, one quiet heartbeat at a time. Your mind being polished like a stone in a clear mountain brook. While this physical cleaning takes place, your mind is also busy with a different kind of organization. Your memories are being carefully filed away and woven into the long, beautiful story of your life. As you move toward the world of dreams, your brain acts as a quiet librarian, sorting through the images, sounds, and emotions of the day. It strengthens the things you have learned and gently tucks away the moments that made you smile, ensuring they are preserved in the library of your soul. You can let go of the need to remember or resolve anything now. Your mind is taking care of it all for you, placing every piece of the puzzle exactly where it belongs. You might notice a deep, comfortable heaviness in your limbs and perhaps a subtle sense of coolness. This is because your body's core temperature drops slightly as you prepare for deep rest. This cooling is a sacred signal, a biological whisper, telling every organ and every muscle that the time for activity has passed. It is the body's way of creating a perfect, tranquil environment for healing and growth. Like a house cooling down after a long summer day, your body is finding its most peaceful equilibrium, sinking deeper and deeper into the soft support of your bed. In this stillness, remember that you are safe. You are grounded by the constant, gentle gravity of the earth, and you are an inseparable part of the great, slow rhythm of time that connects all things. You belong to the stars. You belong to the history of the world, and you belong to this moment of absolute peace. The vastness of the universe is not a distance to be feared, but a home to be cherished. You are a small, precious spark of consciousness returning to the source of its strength. There is nothing left to do, nowhere else to go. The night is long, the world is quiet, and you are held in the softest embrace imaginable. Every cell in your body is now in harmony with the slow, steady pulse of the planet. You have traveled through the wonders of the cosmos, the depths of the oceans, and the wisdom of the ages. Now, the final destination is here, the deep restorative silence of a dreamless sleep. Sleep now, deeply and restoratively. Let the silence carry you into the heart of the night. You are safe. You are loved. You are part of everything. Sleep well. Sleep well.